When you think about your health, most people go to the physical side, going to the gym, getting exercise, eating right. Some of us might even go to mental health, making sure you're in a good state of mind, or emotional health based on relationships and families. But when's the last time you thought about your financial health? In this video, we're going to be discussing the financial health and things that really can improve it. Now, overall, when it comes to financial health, you have to understand that this is the monetary situation, or really the emotional side that you have with money. Now, of course, if you are stressed about money, this can lead to physical illness. This can lead to emotional and even mental illness when it comes to never having enough or not being enough. Looking at your bank account and wondering where the money went, that is what I want you to absolutely try to avoid. When it comes to money, it is a tool to get things that you need. There shouldn't be, which most people have, a very strong emotional tie to money. So what are the indicators of financial health? There are really 6 signs. Number 1 being you make enough money to cover your expenses. This, of course, when you're looking at just the basics, you have an amount of income, you have your expenses. What is left at the end of the month to cover those expenses? For a lot of us, it can be an incredible amount of stress if you're running in the red, if you're running in the negative, if you're looking to borrow money to supplement the income because you're not making enough or you're not budgeting properly through the systems. Now, second one, paying all of your bills on time. This is another one that can lead to an incredible amount of stress. If you're getting behind on bills, you start getting notifications, you start getting calls, you get text messages, you get collectors. If it gets to the point where it's so severe, you can actually have creditors coming to your house, coming to your place of business, a lot of different things. So making sure that you pay your bills on time. Third one, you have no debt or no way to repay or no plan to repay any of the debt that you have. Again, when you start getting into debt and when you start getting into too much debt, it can be overwhelming. It can cause so much incredibly stress. It can cause so much stress that you can have a mental breakdown. You can have a lot of issues with sleeping, going to work, being absent at work, being not present when you're actually there. A lot of things, again, can really come from debt. Looking at number 4, you save enough to meet your short-term and your long-term goals. Now, a lot of people out there do have financial goals. Again, short-term goals, long-term goals, but are you saving enough to reach them? And can you possibly reach them? Or is it really just a goal or just a dream that you're never going to get to, really feeling despair and not being able to reach that? And the final one on here, number 5, your credit score is strong enough to help you qualify for whatever lending needs you have. This is another one where you have a good credit score and you know if something comes up that you can go ahead and borrow a loan, you can get a loan, you can do whatever you need to keep your financial situation afloat. And then, of course, there is a bonus one. You feel comfortable with your financial situation. If you're happy, if you're comfortable, that definitely shows a very strong side of financial health when it comes to overall being able to really know that everything is going to be covered. So what kind of metrics and measurements do we use to really see where your financial health is and also looking to improve the financial health overall? First one, the debt to income ratio. This is really going back. If you're carrying too much debt, this can be super difficult and super harmful for your financial health. Most lenders use your debt to income ratio, meaning the amount that you have, that you earn in relationship to the amount that you have borrowed. What are the abilities and what do you have to make those monthly payments? Now, when it comes to this, most lenders want to see a DTI of 36% or less. When you start getting higher than that 36%, that is saying that a majority of your income is already spoken for. Let's say, for instance, I'm at a 50% DTI. That means without any of my regular expenditures, so just based on your monthly liabilities, what you have to pay, even when it comes to credit cards at a bare minimum, 50% of your income is spoken for, which is incredibly high because then you start putting in all of the variables from utilities to food to gas to everything else that is not a fixed expense. And you are far and above that 50% mark. Some people looking at 80, 90, 100 plus when it comes to debt to income ratios. Another tip to really improve that financial health is your credit score. Having a good credit score is a solid indicator of your financial health. This means generally having a credit score of 700 or above is good. 800 above is considered excellent credit. Now, this, of course, means that you are managing your debt, you're keeping your credit card lows, your repayment history is good or near perfect, and your credit mix is good as well as the length of credit, meaning that you haven't had any late payments, you haven't had any delinquencies, you're not maxing out your credit cards, you are living inside of your means or well inside of your means to cover the debt that you do have. Now, this, of course, leads us to the emergency fund. Priority number one when it comes to improving your financial health, even when it comes to overall well being as an individual, you have to come up with emergency fund, regardless of what it is, just even the baby $1,000 Dave Ramsey emergency fund. Having something set aside will weather unexpected setbacks. If it's an emergency expense, if it's a car breaking down, if you lose a job, the emergency fund, at least for a very, very short amount of time, can cover a one-time cost. Again, job loss might be a little bit more, but your car breaks down, you blow a tire, you need a couple $100 here or there. You have a medical emergency, you need a couple $100, something of that nature. You're going to be able to cover the expense without having to go right back to borrowing, which is where a lot of people kind of get stuck. Then, of course, your retirement savings. Majority of people, like I've said before, kind of crazy to think, most people don't save for retirement. As crazy as it is, they say roughly 45 to 48% of Americans at the age of 55 have zero saved for retirement, meaning that when it comes to financial health, when they start going into the retirement years, they don't have anything saved. Now, some people do have pensions if you're of an older generation. Majority of younger individuals, there are not pension plans, and a majority of jobs that we see right now do not offer pension plans. They offer traditional 401k plans. But the ideal retirement, when you get to age, having your salary kind of times an X factor. So having one times your salary at 30. So if you're making 50,000 a year, you should have at least that 50,000 in your retirement. By age 40, so 10 years later, it should be at least 3x. When you hit 50, it should be 6x. When you reach age 60, it should be 8x the salary. But when you get 67, so that is full retirement age, according to the government, you are 10x your normal salary. So again, when you hit 67, you're still making that $50,000 a year. You should have 10x that saved in a retirement account. So that should be, by my calculations, around $500,000 sitting in a retirement account. Now, again, when you look at retirement age and what people actually have saved on average, when they hit that age 67, it is roughly around $145,000 saved. Definitely not the 10x that we see or what they really recommend for the retirement savings. So how are some of the ways that we can really improve our financial health? Focusing down and building those. Number one, getting on a budget. This is something that I always talk about in all of my videos. Budgets are imperative. And honestly, it doesn't matter how you budget. It doesn't matter what you call it. A lot of people call it a spending plan. A lot of people call it a recommended budget. A lot of people do the 50-30-20 budget. Some do the zero-based budgeting. Doesn't matter exactly how you're doing your budgeting. The big fact is you know where your money is going. That is the thing. Regardless of what you decide to use, if you're crunching the numbers, if you're writing it down on a piece of paper with a pen, if you're going through and you're using an app, having some idea of where your money is going and also knowing exactly what you're paying for things is a game changer. It doesn't mean you're going to spend 3 hours a day or 30 hours a month really tracking and getting on this budget, but you have to know exactly where you can cut when you need to, knowing exactly where you need to beef up. Let's say it's savings, it's retirement accounts, where you need to add more money to. A budget is going to reveal a lot of that, as well as for a majority of individuals, where you're spending a lot of your money that you don't need to. A lot of subscription plans that people don't use, gym memberships that go unused, people not going to the gym anymore with those. But overall, knowing exactly where your money is going. And then, of course, tracking your spending. This is very easy when it comes to financial wellness. When you actually get into the methodology of knowing where your money is going, it can be eye-opening. You can have, on one hand, your short-term and your long-term financial goals. On the other hand, knowing exactly where you're spending all your money. And both of those might not align in perfect harmony, meaning that I know that I should be saving for the short-term and long-term goals, but my budgeting or where I'm actually spending all of my money doesn't align to where we need to go. This, of course, is going to leave some room for some adjustments. You can tweak a couple things. You can cut some out expenses, put some money back where you need to, and really know exactly where it goes. When your spending gets out of line with your priorities, again, similar to the physical side, similar to the mental side, the financial side will be out of line and you will find yourself kind of arguing and fighting with yourself. because of things that you bought, or you'll have a lot of buyer's remorse, which is something that we see a lot of times with financial counseling. Number three, creating a plan for debt repayment. This is huge, whether you're using the snowball method or the avalanche method, two absolutely kind of different methods, but they get you to the exact same point in time. If you don't have a plan to actually repay your debt, it means that you are going to carry debt for an exorbitant amount of time. And for a lot of people who carry high interest debt, they're going to carry it forever. The average in the United States of credit card balances is roughly around $8,000 per individual in the United States, which is kind of crazy because then you tack on a average 22% interest rate on the $8,000 we have borrowed per person. It gets astronomical with the finance charges and the amount of money and how many hours we have to put in at our workplace just to cover the interest on the credit cards for stuff that we could have bought months, even years ago. Again, to me, that is kind of insanity when you're doing the same thing every single time and expecting a different result. I love the quote. But overall, if you continue to use your credit cards as your source of income or a backup source of income, you're never going to pay them down. Even a lot of individuals that I see do debt consolidation loans, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 in a debt consolidation loan within the next couple of years, because the spending habit hasn't changed, because the behaviors haven't changed, they're right back doing loans again to do the same debt consolidation that we did because they're not budgeting properly and they are not tracking their spending. Now, as we get into number four, looking for ways to cut expenses. There are a lot of very simple ways to cut back when it comes to the expenses. Some of them, of course, can be very difficult to do, but even some of them you can kind of scale down. Where let's say, for instance, you're going out to eat 5 times a week, you could cut it down to 2 or 3 times a week, saving an incredible amount of money going to the grocery store. Looking at a lot of things that you don't use, like we said before, with memberships, subscriptions, there's a lot of things that people pay for every single day that they don't use at all. Or even looking at stuff in your closet, looking in your basement, looking at a lot of different things where it's been 1, 3, 5 years since you've ever touched or ever used some of the stuff in their location. Rarely used watches, technology that is old, that's kind of a garbage or nobody uses anymore, making sure and seeing any way that you can cut those expenses. And then one of my absolute favorite ones, automating your savings. We always stress that it is important to pay yourself first, not only paying yourself first in the form of a retirement account, but also paying yourself first in putting money aside to make sure that you do have money when it comes to that emergency fund, when it comes to the repayment. Tackling financial health and really getting this can be very overwhelming, but step by step you can get there. And even putting things on autopilot, even if it is as little as, let's say, $5 a paycheck, $10 a paycheck, most of the people who do that will not miss that small amount of money that is going, but eventually it turns into something larger. You start getting the feeling that you can do this, that you can save money. That is really the mental shift of everything that I buy goes on a credit card. The credit card is how I do all of my emergency fund, and all of my funding just comes from the credit card, versus I use my savings account, which I save as an emergency fund, to cover any unexpected expenses. It is a complete monetary and mind shift. Using your own money versus borrowed money makes a big difference. And longevity wise, using your own money is one that you absolutely want to do. Now, of course, to really slingshot this or get it going, consider, if you're not investing, if you don't have that retirement plan yet, putting 1 or 2% into a retirement plan right now, setting it up, especially if you have a match. There was actually a conversation that I just had today. Individual has been at the same job for 10 years. That is right, a decade. They contribute 0 to their company's 401k plan because they don't believe in it and they don't think it's beneficial. However, that same company gives you a 4% match. So I really explained to it in a different methodology where, hey, if you're putting in 4% and they're putting in 4%, then this 401k plan that you really don't have much faith in goes down 50%. We see a massive meltdown in the market. Your portfolio drops 50%. All of your money is still there because you only lost the match that they were giving you. Now, the chances of that happening, very slim to none. I don't know if there's been a time, maybe once or twice through the years, that we've seen the stock market actually drop that much with 401k plans. But overall, his money is still safe. It is still SIPC secured. The investment company that he's going through is with Vanguard. Even told him, bring in a couple things. We'll take a look at it with a financial advisor. Go through, figure out what is going to be the best options for your 401k plan, because he's leaving money on the table every single paycheck that he gets, bringing home that extra 4% instead of matching it with that 4% that they're giving you. Now, the big takeaways here, guys, just as with physical health, mental health, making sure that you establish and maintain good financial health will really help you in the long run. And when it comes to retirement, when it comes to goal planning, that's exactly what we're looking to do here. So guys, if you do like the content that I'm putting out there on a regular basis, actually doing videos every single day, consider subscribing to the channel. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.